Recently, my friend Benj sent me a link to an Instagram video. In the thumbnail, I saw somebody holding a guitar, and the caption was "Easy Counting Challenge." But I suspected by the face that this person was making while, in the thumbnail, that maybe it wasn't going to be all that easy, right? So I clicked on it and I watched, and it was challenging. It's a video by Emma Harner, and in it she says, try to find where one is and clap on one. And it actually took me a minute to figure it out, but I did. So if you haven't already seen that, I'll include a link here so you can check it out. But that got me intrigued. I'm always happy to discover somebody on the guitar that I haven't heard yet, somebody who's up and coming. And I watched some of her other videos, which were like bits and pieces of original songs and also some really amazing covers. She did a Radiohead cover and a cover by Charlie XCX. And throughout, I was just amazed by Emma's ability to play in odd time signatures with apparent ease and to sing and play at the same time, doing fairly complicated stuff, and just a wonderful fingerstyle technique. So I was fascinated, and then so I went to see if there was some music I could hear, and it turns out at that time there were just a couple of singles on Spotify. And then the Fretboard Journal, which is one of my favorite magazines and guitar related podcasts, interviewed Emma for their podcast. That's the Fretboard Journal, and I'll include a link to that as well so you can check it out. And then I thought, I want to speak with Emma Harner. I want to find out, how she got to where she is on the guitar, how she developed her style, and what she's been working on. It turns out she's got a new EP out, which you can find on Spotify and all the usual streams. I'll include a link to that as well. Really fascinating musician and great to talk to. I asked in this interview if she plays the drums, and she said, "Oh no, I can't play the drums." But I asked that not just because there's a lot of rhythmic aspects to her musicality, but also in the way that she told me about how she practiced. Most of my guitar students don't approach practice quite the way that she does, and I think of it the way she kind of chunks out the hard parts of things and just works on them again and again, get in the practice room and just work on the hard parts and then stitch them together to longer phrases and complete songs. I see drummers do that maybe more than guitar, so I was intrigued by how she spends her practice time, because she makes things look easy that I know are not easy. Anyway, enough of this. This is my intro. I just wanted to tell you how we got here. But without further ado, here is my conversation with Emma Harner. I have questions I want to ask you about arranging and about your guitar style, and I'm just going to start and we'll
Yeah.
go where we go. One thing that really hits me about your guitar playing is your time. It's just so strong, and I mention that because I know a lot of my students, it's like that's a real thing of like, how do I develop time that feels really good? So I wanted to ask you how you developed your time which feels really good, and also in a way seems like a soloistic style where you're kind of juggling a lot of parts all at once, but then the two songs I've heard so far from your EP, there's other instruments and stuff, and I wonder how much you play with other people versus how much you play solo, and how you develop the
Yeah.
time. So tell me, please.
Okay. So, well, starting with the first, like, how did I develop my time feel? I think it comes from my background in classical music. I started playing the violin when I was young. Um, and a lot of my love for like the study of the guitar comes from that, like thinking about phrasing and like where you can stretch in places and go faster in places. I mean, for me it's all about highlighting the right notes and then the time just kind of falls into place. I'm a very like introspective guitar player. Like I'll sit with myself and play the same passage for hours. Um,
Hmm.
and just kind of get like quite lost in it. Um, so I think that that's the basis. So especially when I play with myself, it's all like, ooh, it's kind of it's kind of like Jello or something, the way that the time, which is not so cool when I play with other people sometimes. I mean, playing in a band is a skill, definitely. And
Hmm.
I mean, going to Berkeley, like I've done a lot of that. So I think yeah, I mean, it's something that I can turn off or turn on, I think. And it also depends on the song, whether it calls for it. There are some songs that I've written where I tend to, when left to my own devices, like take it too much. I think whenever I strum instead of fingerpick, it gets to be where like I will speed up too much in certain places and then the whole thing just feels weird. So sometimes a metronome and a beat can be really grounding and helpful for me. But
Hmm.
with this EP, a lot of the songs, actually I think none of them are on the grid. If I'm remembering correctly, there might be like one on the grid, but it was just basically me getting a guitar take that I was comfortable with and that I liked the flow and the push and pull of, and then everything else we fit into that roadmap kind of. So
Ah. Okay. So you recorded that first and then built out around that.
yeah, that's definitely my favorite way to do it.
Why?
Because then it feels like the song, you know? If I don't know, there's some songs where if I were to play them to a click, it just wouldn't work for me. I mean, you could do it, but I'm trying to make these specific recordings of these songs be like the master recording of this song. This is how I want it to sound like, and that's so much pressure. So I think
Hmm.
it was important that I really tried to capture the push and pull at its core that exists when I play it live, just my voice and the guitar,
Hmm.
which is a hard thing to do and quite hard on producers. I mean, the guy that I worked with on this EP, Philip Etherington, he was happy to do it. Like, but we had some other amazing, incredible musicians like come on and play strings and drum and bass on a few songs. And for that, I think he had to go through and tempo map everything so that those musicians could be hearing a click in their ears. But the click isn't like on the grid. The click is like my guitar part simplified. And that, yeah, the technology doesn't quite exist yet where you could just hit a button and it's perfect. So the way that I understand it, it was a lot of work. So
Oh.
I'm always appreciative because that, I mean, yeah, that makes it sound the best, I suppose, as well. So,
Hmm. Are you going to be going out to tour to support the EP? I mean, I imagine you are.
yeah, I think so. We have some stuff scheduled out and announcing later, for, I think like later in the year, not immediately. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
And will those be solo shows, or will you have other people?
Well, I mean, I'm still at a point in my career where I don't have like really the budget to like do a whole full band thing. So I'm kind of even excited at the prospect of playing some headline shows, just me and my guitars. Um, I think it will be very fun. Because I've done all these shows where I was opening for my friend Orla Gartland, which was amazing. Um, but that time constraint of a half hour can really, I don't know. I'm excited to break out of that and have more time to kind of do what I want. The prospect is very exciting, especially as like a completely alone on the stage. Like anything could happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a storyteller on stage, or do you kind of just go song to song and without a lot of
Yeah.
non-song stuff?
I'm a big talker.
Okay.
I talk a lot. I've had people come up to me after shows and say like, "Oh, you should go into stand up," which I'm like, "No." I I have no interest in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only fun for me if I get to play the guitar. But it's also I kind of had this breakthrough a couple of years ago with stage banter, if you will, where I was playing to a coffee shop of no one but my friend Jillian, and I just started like the situation was so ridiculous to me that I was just playing the songs and then in between I would be like, you know what this one's about.
Right.
You were there. Okay. And she was laughing and I was laughing. And then eventually more people were there, but I kind
Huh.
of didn't notice until I noticed other people also laughing. So to me, then it was like, okay, well, I should play every show like I'm just talking to Jillian. Not necessarily like, you know what this one's about, but, telling the stories as if I'm just telling them to like my best friend or just one person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I don't know, I also find really fun to tap into and get into. Just kind of trying to be myself. And myself is quite awkward and a little just like strange. But I think in some ways it can be cool on stage. It can be a little charming. But
Uh-huh.
at a certain point you do have to play the music. So there's that.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
But do you think also that way, like when you're tracking a vocal, like, oh, I'm just singing to my friend Jillian right now? Does the same kind of thing work when you're doing a vocal?
Hmm. I don't know. I think the music is also very separate for me. It's like a different switch in my brain because I mean, I play these songs when I'm writing them so many times over, like every passage so often that by the time I go to record vocals, it's very disorienting in terms of having muscle memory of never having sang it without playing the guitar before,
Mm-hmm.
which is always really disorienting. And then I think vocals are something that I struggle with generally. Like if I could take like vocal lessons, that would be great, and I probably should, kind of thing. Like I'm very studious about the guitar, but I don't care so much about learning how to sing properly. And then I think that comes back to bite me a little bit when I'm playing shows, and then my voice hurts afterwards, and I'm like, God, I wish I was better at that. Um,
Right.
so I don't know. It's strange, but especially when I'm on stage, like it's definitely a skill to be able to try and be funny a little bit,
Uh,
try and be charming, and
yeah.
then be like, okay, song. And sometimes it's a little whiplash-y because my songs are often really serious and quite sad. And so to go from trying to laugh and joke around and then like immediately you're playing a really sad song.
Huh.
Um, I think, I don't know, it's funny to me to put people through that. Um, but yeah, I think I really try to retreat into my own head when I'm playing these songs. And then afterwards, after the song is done, I can kind of come into myself and be like, oh, there are people in front of me. How'd you like that? Kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know that that's necessarily great, but that's how I do it.
Hmm. um, I was asking earlier about time again because it's something I think my students ask me about, and I want to ask you about a couple of other things that like guitar players tend to believe, but that you kind of give lie to, or at least make look easy. So I thought I would just throw these at you as kind of,
All
but
right.
I'd love to get your take. Okay, so first of all, singing and playing at the same time is really hard.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess this is going to be a terrible answer. For me, it hasn't been historically. And I think the reason for that is that I taught myself how to play the guitar while singing at the same time. Like I taught myself how to play via writing songs in alternate tunings, and everything was happening at the same time. So I mean, there are obviously places where I'm writing a riff, like a guitar riff separately from singing a vocal line, and then I put the two of them together, and there's a little bit of friction and practice. But I think it comes a little more naturally to me than to other people trying it for the first time because they've spent so long just doing guitar.
Hmm.
And if you've spent so long just doing guitar and then you try to add something insane on top of it, it can be really, really disorienting. So I guess my best advice, although I don't even believe in it 100%, is to like do them both at the same time. Like if you're trying to learn I know a lot of people try and sit down and learn a piece of music that you're singing that you're supposed to sing over. And they'll be like, okay, first I'm going to learn the guitar and then I'm going to try and sing over it. And I've tried to do that before and it has not worked. It's
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
it's really difficult. But if you build in you're singing into the guitar. Like maybe you take a measure of the part that you want to learn and you learn that measure. And then while it's still very, very fresh under your fingers, you try singing with it super slowly, kind of thing. And that way, those neural pathways are like linking together at the same time. Because that's really what it's about. It's about how malleable your brain is. And you got to get in there at the right time, which is while you still really don't know the guitar part.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And that's like not a hard and fast rule. Like you can teach yourself how to sing over something you already know, but it's a lot harder because you
Yeah,
have to kind of go in and rewrite how your brain thinks about how to do that thing.
that totally makes sense. That totally
Okay.
makes sense. Okay, playing in odd time signatures is really hard.
It is. That's true. It's really
Okay.
difficult. I think I was obsessed for probably a year of my life with 5/8 and 5/4. And I went out of my way on purpose to write songs in five. Um, and I think through that practice of just kind of exposure therapying myself
Hmm.
into into like thinking that five was really natural. And then everything fell into place after that. Because five and seven aren't really different. So if you start with seven, that's fine too. And then my favorite time signature is 11, which I end up putting in a lot of stuff, kind of like under the wire, like one little measure of 11. I love 11.
Hmm.
But I could only get there because I drilled five into my head until the uncomfortable became like something comfortable that I could access. It's like
Hmm.
obviously four and three and six feel way more comfortable to me than five and seven do, but it's a certain kind of like settling into the discomfort that you have to get to that I think you can really only get to through repetition,
Hmm.
is how I feel about it anyway.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, okay. Well, one more.
Okay.
Fingerstyle. Fingerstyle is really hard.
That's also true. You keep saying things that are so true, but I guess my journey with fingerstyle guitar is that I taught myself how to play on my dad's Fender classical guitar from 1980. It had like super high action, like no truss rod, very bare bones guitar.
Hmm.
And um I just played it how I saw my dad play it, which was like basic finger picking and some strumming. Um and then I had influences where finger picking was something that I was interested in. And it is really hard. It took so many hours of my life to get to it. But I think truly everything kind of flipped for me when I got Berkeley actually, and had my first guitar lesson with this wonderful, wonderful guitarist called Abby Zocher. She taught Adrienne Lenker actually. She is so fantastic.
Hmm.
And she like took one look at me and my playing and immediately was like, you need to be playing classical guitar. Like 100%, that's what you need to be doing.
Oh, wow.
So I followed her advice. She taught me like proper right hand technique. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's made its way into my life into where now I'm quite obsessed with ergonomic guitar playing, if that's a thing at all. Um,
Very much is a thing.
right? Where like you focus on where your wrists and your fingers are having as little like tension and friction as possible. Like one of my favorite examples that I learned from her is the pinky anchor. A lot of people do the pinky anchor. It's like big in bluegrass and it works for a lot of people, and I'm not dogging on the pinky anchor, but I would for me, because I mean, and everyone listening can do this too. If you just take your hand and put it like on a surface or your other hand, and you place your pinky down on it, and then you try to wiggle your fingers, like while you're flexing your pinky, it's kind of hard. But then if you take your pinky off that and then you just try to wiggle your finger, it's
Yeah.
so much easier. I mean, obviously. So it's about so stuff like that. It's about eliminating tension, just being very relaxed, and then approaching it like like something to study and something to be overhauled. And like if you're frustrated with the way that your finger picking is and it's not fast enough, you know, I don't think the answer with finger picking I think it's rarely drilling. It's usually just how you need to examine how you're holding the guitar and where the tension points are, and like maybe get somebody to help you figure it out. I don't know. Nails were
Hmm.
big for me as well. Obviously, with the classical guitar world, there's a certain way that you do your nails.
Yeah.
Um, and I personally have 100% subscribed with like little things here and there. Like I think classical players tend to really go like this into the guitar, and my hand is a little more sideways than that, just because I don't love when your hand does that. Like I don't love that. Um,
Yeah.
that I think is called the ulnar deviation. And I think. And then so I don't know. I try to keep my wrist a little more straight, which means that this nail, my pointer fingernail tends to be a little more like the plane is a little more diagonal that I file it on, as opposed to these ones that are more straight. And they're
Hmm.
not in the best shape right now because I've been playing a lot of rock music. But um yeah, basically I don't know. There's so many things that go into finger picking. And I mean, the last couple, 3, 4 years of my life, I feel have been really dedicated to figuring that out.
Hmm.
But there are a couple really simple things you can do as just, I think, a casual player of guitar to level up your game. And I'd say one of them is looking at the angles of your wrists, trying to eliminate any tension, and then the other one is just a simple filing of your nails, because it's really night and day when your nails aren't the thing like catching on the strings and pulling off and being prickly everywhere. You know, when you get that under control, it's like you can play like 10,000 times faster immediately.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, oh, one more thing I wanted to ask you about time stuff. One of the first videos that I saw of yours on Instagram was this easy challenge. I believe in nothing now is the first line of the song,
Yes, yeah.
right?
I put the words easy counting challenge on there as rage bait, and it totally worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do, do you for yourself write challenges like that? Like, what I wanted to ask you is like, do songs ever come out of, oh, let me see if I can make this thing in seven feel really good, and then you do it enough, and another melody starts to come, and then oh, a song.
Yeah, I'd say there was a period in my life, I think the period where I was getting really into five. And shortly thereafter, where I was really kind of forcing myself to write an odd time. Um, and yeah, that a lot of that, what you described was happening. But recently in my life and like in writing, I think I kind of went to 100 and I'm scaling it back now a little bit.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like there will be waves of me wanting to write more and less complicated music in my life. And right now I think I'm truly in a valley in terms of I'm I'm interested right now in writing something more simple. And then even I think when I set out to write something simple, it's not super simple
Right.
usually. I mean, it can be if I really am like, okay, let's, one, four, five, let's do it.
Hmm.
Um, then I can maybe, but usually there ends up being, and since I've sat in now with the feeling of time signatures like 5 and 7 and 11, giving me so much like raw excitement energy that even when I'm writing something in a simpler time signature, I'll slip something in that's in a different one, or just like after I've written something that I feel is simple, um, especially with just a guitar riff that I like, if I find something that I think sounds good, um, I tend to try and go through every variation with it that I can think of. Like, what if I played this in 7? What if I reversed the finger picking pattern? What if I strummed it instead of and then I play with every single thing that I think that I could change about it until it's something cooler than it was.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you play drums also?
Oh no, I'm hopeless. I'm hopeless at the drums.
Just your work ethic around rhythm and repetition is something that I hear more from like my friends who are drummers who in the way that they practice.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. So there's another Instagram guitarist, sorry to call us that as a collective group, um called Chris Wallace. He's a friend of mine. And everybody should look him up because however insane I am about rhythm, he's 10 times more insane. And he's developed this kind of like technique with a thumb pick and like hybrid whatever. It's crazy. But I mean, I've had a number of conversations with him about rhythm and how he thinks about it, and he truly is like drummer guy, and really, really into rhythm theory. And I think in terms of rhythm theory, it doesn't captivate me as much as like melodic theory does and harmonic theory. Like I'm really into kind of, the Berkeley style of like harmony and melody,
Hmm.
which is like the chords as Roman numerals. Um, so
Hmm.
I don't know, but I don't know what makes me like think of rhythm the way that I do, but it's something.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you about arranging. I've only heard a couple of your arrangements. I've heard Jigsaw Falling into Place and Sympathy is a Knife.
Mm.
And they're so different. I wonder, like, first of all, what makes you love a song enough to want to take it apart? And then once you've taken it apart, where do you begin to build something new?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in terms of the songs that I'm inspired to do that with, it's always a vocal melody that's stuck in my head. Or maybe there's something about the instrumental melody, but it's usually something about the vocal melody that's stuck in my head. Um, and I don't know, like for me, I think it harkens back kind of to my love of classical music as a child, like my love of melody. Like I remember like there's some pieces by Brahms and Beethoven where like nothing has left me more in awe than the melody of those things. And sometimes I'll listen to a song and just hear this, like kind of get the same feeling. like in the back of my chest or whatever that I get when I'm listening to some of those really, really melodically like dense classical pieces. Um, and I'll be like, wow, I want to mess with it. Is mostly the just the feeling in my heart and soul is like not necessarily sometimes there's a oh I wish that this would have happened like a major chord where I think there should be one or just a what wouldn't it be cool if this specific thing happened and then I go in and try it but mostly when I do those arrangements with the notable exception of the jigsaw falling into place one I just don't look at how the original guitar part is played
Hmm.
um or if there is an original guitar part, I don't look at the chords, I don't look at anything. And I just see, I mean, truly at its core, for me, a lot of the arranging that I do is complete reharmonization. And so just following my heart like wherever it wants to go,
Hmm.
which is very, very fun. I mean, I always start from the bottom up, like bass notes first. And then I'm a big believer in open tunings and what they can do for arrangements like that and for songs in general. Like I always want my lowest sounding open string to be some like to like usually the one, but sometimes like with this Sympathy is a Knife cover, I um I was tuned to FAC GCE, which is kind of like a famous math rock tuning. Um, those of us who know about math rock, that's the one that Never Meant by American Football is in. And the interesting thing about FACGCE is that when you play it kind of open, um, the one and like it kind of lends itself to writing in the key of C. So C is one, but that is where your D string normally is. So it's the third string. Um, I don't know. So basically, if you're writing an FACGCE, the four chord is your F, which is your lowest string. And so if you're trying to arrange for a song where the four chord is really hitting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then I always lean towards FACGCE. And that Sympathy is a Knife, that Charlie XCX song is very like I don't know. I mean that's what it does. It's the four chord
Yeah.
that kind of like rips on the one. So I don't know. It's kind of about for me, I know the set of tunings that I use pretty intimately, like FACGCE, Open D and all its variants, like Dad Gad, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then another tuning that I really like is EA C sharp F sharp BE, which it takes the guitar and it inverts it because everything's fourths apart in a regular guitar tuning, except there's a major third between the G string and the B string. But in EA, C sharp, F sharp, BE, the major third is between A and C sharp. So
Mm-hmm.
you're tuning your two middle strings each down a half step. Um, and it's very close to standard, but in a lot of ways it flips everything on its head. And for me, I'm always writing like twisty, turny stuff that's kind of in A. And then in that at least. And like A is usually my home base for that. But if I really want something that like rips, then I use Open D, um, and some kind of variant of that. I don't know. So for those covers, it's usually about using my kind of learned intuition about this set of tunings that I know to choose one that I think would really fit the song. And then I kind of let my fingers take over from there. Like I'm singing the melody, playing the lowest string, um, trying to find out what I want the chords to be, and then
Mm-hmm.
I build it up from there, and then I add ornaments, and then we're off to the races. But I don't know.
Oh, what's an example of a song that you've done in that EA C sharp F sharp BE tuning?
Yes. My so this is another Radiohead cover. My No Surprises Radiohead cover is in that tuning, really, really lends itself to that. And then one of the songs on this EP that's coming out called Lifetimes is in that tuning. And then there's another song that um, fans of the depths of my Instagram know called The Lake, which is in that tuning. Um, I feel like there are more that I'm not remembering right now because I've written a lot. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The easy counting challenge, that's in that one.
Oh,
The I
wow.
believe in nothing now. Yeah, that one's in E A C sharp F sharp B.
I'm really intrigued. I play a fair amount in open D and double drop D and
Yeah.
sort of that family, but I've never I've never thought of tuning the guitar that way. So I'm really intrigued. So I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
write
I mean
something.
you should because it's awesome. But the way that I stumbled upon it actually was through studying classical guitar. One of the tunings before everybody settled on standard, which I have so many beefs with standard. It doesn't make any sense to me. What are we doing? But anyway, lute tuning, um, before guitar tuning was just standard guitar tuning, but with a F sharp instead of a G.
Okay.
So we're almost on our way there. And I was playing a classical piece in that lute tuning and just like messing around with it, thinking about it. And at some point, I do what I always do, which is I went, "Ugh, I wish that the D was a half step lower." And then I just put it there.
Hmm.
I have
You can
general
do that?
rules. You can. And I have general rules for myself. Like I don't take more than a whole step away from standard, my guitar, because they're always all set up for standard, and I'm not trying to break it. But there's so many possibilities within that world. You know, you could tune. I've played before in standard, but you tune your B string up to a C, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like just kind of like regular bar chords without the bar when you're sliding around. It sounds different.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. So there are just so many little things you can do. And often when I'm playing in one tuning, I'll find myself thinking, ugh, I wish this note was different. This open string was different because I love open strings. And then, if it's possible, I'll just make it.
Wow. That's cool. That's really refreshing. Yeah. Wow. Um, I wanted to ask you, do you have a few more minutes? Are you
Yeah,
good?
totally. I'm good.
Okay. Um, I listened to your Fretboard Journal podcast episode with Jason.
Yeah, and I yours.
Oh, nice. And you talked about like listening to one album for a while, and you were saying that sometimes people will say, "Oh, well, you must know this record," and you'd be like, "No, I don't." Partly, in part, because you spend more time with fewer records. And I just wonder, like, how do you stumble upon the records that you do wind up spending time with? How do you stumble upon them?
So randomly. And not like it's hard to get me to listen to something. Like if you're one of my close friends or one of my family members or someone that I am just having a conversation with and they're like, you need to listen to this. 99% I will not listen to it. But if one person recommends that I listen to something enough times or sends it to me at the right moment when I'm looking for something new to listen to,
Yeah.
um, then I shall listen to it. Um, and that's usually how it happens. So there's no rhyme or reason, and it's truly just fate and luck. And it's crazy because these things that I listen to end up influencing my music so much. And just to think if like someone else would have said something else at a very specific time, I could be a completely different player, So that's kind of wild.
Did somebody recommend In Rainbows, or did you find that on your own? Or
Oh, yeah, it was my ex. Classic,
sorry.
classic. No, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. We're chill. But the
Okay.
first Radiohead song that he actually sent to me was Glassy Eyes, which is from A Moon-Shaped Pool, which became my favorite Radiohead album, and I think still is. Although I'm a huge, like in terms of album continuity, I think In Rainbows like cannot be beat, at least out of everything that I've listened to. But A Moon-Shaped Pool, to me, I'm a sucker for sad music. I'm a sucker for music that is just so, so devastating. And that album is the most devastating thing I've ever listened to. But that specific song, I'd never listened to a song before that kind of it was one thing, and then like somewhere in the second verse it just kind of all of a sudden in this strings moment, and also in terms of the panning of the actual track, like opened up. Just and in a way that was still muted. It was like muted and then it was like it seemed like it was trying to break out of itself. And all of a sudden I was incredibly intrigued. Um yeah, so I listened to the rest of it immediately. That was, but yeah, that kind of being a first Radiohead song is a really weird pull, but that's mine. Yeah.
Hmm. 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 Do you find yourself recommending music to other people or not so much?
Yeah, no, hypocritically all the time. Um, I'm like, you should listen to this. You need to
Right.
listen to it. And then I won't listen to anything that anybody says I should listen to. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I mean, also, it's kind of cool because I have this platform now where I can kind of make people listen to my favorite songs via covering them. Um, and I've had people comment and say, you know, I hadn't heard of this song before you played it, and I listened to it and I really like it. So maybe that's my goal all along is to just get people to listen to my favorite music via, yeah. I mean, I made this playlist that I pinned to my Spotify profile of some of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
That, you know, hopefully, you know, if anyone's interested in listening to some really sad music for a while, um, you could go listen to that. But yeah.
Cool. I will. I listened to that Gregory Alan Isaacoff record that you mentioned on the Fretboard Journal podcast. I'd never heard it. It's really
Oh,
beautiful.
it's so beautiful. And it's like so dense as well with noise, which is, yeah. Actually, oh man, the person who showed me that album, I was kind of forced to listen to it because I was working at Guitar Center at the time, and my coworker Ryan just like put it on and he put it on and then he called me over and he was like, "Well, you're actually not supposed to play your own music at Guitar Center, but our
Yeah.
radio broke, so we just like Bluetooth connected to one of these giant speaker stacks and he called me over. He was like, "You have to listen to this. Listen to this part." And then there was a part with the strings and I was like, "Oh, that's really good." And then I downloaded it and
Mm.
now I'm a different person. So,
Wow. I mean, I'm that is like the least Guitar Center record that I could even imagine,
well, no one was there.
right?
It was truly like Nebraska Guitar Center at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Okay.
So nobody was in the store to listen to it. But and yeah, so we had fun.
Okay. Wow. Um, The last thing I was just wanted to ask you because I'm intrigued to ask is I saw that Rick Beato mentioned you in his favorite
Yeah.
Instagram musicians post. How is that for you?
Yeah, so my dad is like probably the biggest Rick Beato fan on the planet. And Rick Beato followed me on Instagram a couple months back and like commented on that video that he showed in that video yesterday. And my dad was really he was like freaking out. Um, like you know, and so I was just on the train yesterday and I got a comment on TikTok that said, "Sent here from the Rick Beato video." And I went, "Whoa." Hold on a second. So I replied to the comment and I was like, just so you know, this is how I found out. And then I went immediately like I texted my dad and I was like, I think something's happened. You know, and then I went and saw it, and it was just great. He said some super nice things. It was like like short and sweet. Just
Hmm.
said, you know, been following her for a little bit. You know, here's the real. And I have a number of followers on Instagram. I have a number of followers on TikTok, but I my YouTube following pales in comparison. But I will say, ever since, which it hasn't even been 24 hours yet since you put that video up, but my YouTube following count has shot up. Like,
I can imagine.
thanks, Rick. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So the EP comes out this week, right?
Tonight at midnight for,
Wow.
yeah, for us in real time now. So the 11th of July.
Awesome. Yeah, I won't be able to post this before midnight tonight.
Yeah, that's definitely what I figured. Yeah. I mean, that would be insane.
Yeah, but I'm stoked. I'll listen to it. I've been really really digging the two tracks so far, and I'm excited to hear the whole thing as a whole.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope I don't know. I hope when you're touring that you come through New York because I'd love to see you play live.
Yeah, I mean, New York is like one of the places, you know? It's like it's on the list.
Okay,
So,
good,
yeah.
good, good. All right. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Yay.
Emma, thank you so much. Really, really great to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun. I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Right on.
Whew.